There will come a moment in your life when the fire you felt inside disappears. When the rush that once carried you forward goes silent. When the excitement that made everything feel possible fades into a dull echo in the back of your mind. That is the moment most people stop. That's the moment where dreams die quietly. Not with a scream, but with a whisper. And it doesn't happen because people lack talent. It happens because they mistake motivation for power. Motivation is a spark, but sparks die without fuel. Motivation is a wave, but waves crash if they meet no shore. Motivation will make you start the race, but only discipline will make you finish it. The world is full of people who were motivated yesterday, but the future belongs to those who stayed disciplined today. Discipline is not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't give you goosebumps or make your heart race. Discipline doesn't need a playlist or a speech or a perfect sunrise. Discipline shows up when everything else collapses. Every person who has ever created something extraordinary, every mind that's changed history, every name that refuses to be forgotten, understood this one truth. Discipline is what separates dreams from legacies. It's easy to be excited when everything feels right, when the world claps for you, when the path is lit. But the real journey begins in the dark, when the lights go off, when nobody's watching, when nobody cares. That's where discipline lives. And it is in that quiet, in that cold space that greatness is built. Look back at the builders of nations, at inventors who carved their names into time, at those who rose from nothing. They didn't rise because they were always motivated. Thomas Edison didn't create the light bulb because he woke up every morning with a motivational speech in his head. He did it because when failure came for him over and over, he kept showing up. Discipline kept his hands moving when inspiration didn't. Henry Ford didn't build an empire on feeling good. He built it brick by brick with a discipline that didn't ask for permission to keep going. Abraham Lincoln didn't lead a nation through darkness because he was motivated every morning. He did it because he had trained his spirit to stand when everything else fell. Discipline is the foundation beneath greatness. It's the thing that stays when everything else leaves. Motivation gives you a feeling, but discipline gives you a future. It doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't care whether you feel like it or not. It doesn't ask for your permission. It demands your action. It's the alarm clock that rings at 5 in the morning when the bed is warm. It's the decision to study when no one is clapping. It's the act of pushing when your legs are shaking. Discipline isn't beautiful, but it's the reason you'll live a life most people only dream about. You see, most people build their lives on emotion. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the right time. They wait for a wave to carry them. But the world doesn't reward those who wait for feelings. It rewards those who build habits stronger than feelings. And that's why discipline will always outlast motivation. Motivation burns hot and fast. Discipline burns steady and long. Discipline doesn't rely on how you feel. Discipline doesn't care if it's raining, if you're tired, if your friends quit, or if the world is against you. Discipline stands like a mountain. It doesn't move for storms. It breaks them. Think about it. The person who trains only when they feel like it will never defeat the person who trains no matter how they feel. The person who builds only when inspiration hits will never outbuild the one who builds even when it hurts. Discipline is the quiet force that eats doubt for breakfast and doesn't brag about it. It doesn't post about it. It doesn't wait for applause. It just works. There's a reason the greats outlast the talented. Talent fades when motivation fades. But discipline turns ordinary men and women into forces that can't be stopped. It turns long nights into progress, pain into power, and doubt into fuel. It is the weapon no storm can take away from you once it's forged. Let me tell you a truth that most people run away from. Your future will not care about how motivated you felt today. It will only care about what you did with the hours you had. Nobody builds a legacy by doing what's convenient. Legacies are built in sweat, silence, and days where everything inside of you whispers, "Stop," and discipline answers, "No." The world remembers those who showed up, the ones who kept going, the ones who didn't need the music to play to keep dancing in the storm. That is the mindset that makes the difference between almost and unstoppable. Discipline is the reason the runner finishes the marathon even after the crowd has gone home. It's the reason the builder still swings the hammer long after the sun has set. It's the reason the dreamer wakes up before the world and works when everyone else is sleeping. Motivation wants to feel good. Discipline wants results. Motivation will give you a spark. Discipline will make sure the fire never dies. This is where most people fail. They wait to feel inspired before they act. They want the fire before they build the furnace. But success doesn't belong to those who wait for the right mood. It belongs to those who act in every mood. Because when you learn to work without needing to feel ready, you become unstoppable. Nothing can hold you back because nothing controls you anymore. Not laziness, not doubt, not fear. Discipline is the great equalizer. You may not be the smartest, the fastest, the strongest, or the most talented, but if you can be the most disciplined, time will bow to you. Because time rewards consistency more than it rewards brilliance. Someone out there is more talented than you, but if you outwork them every day, the crown won't stay on their head. It will move to yours. The difference between good and great is discipline. The difference between a spark and a fire is discipline. The difference between starting and finishing is discipline. And the difference between a dream and a reality is discipline. Think about the builders of empires. Andrew Carnegie didn't rise from poverty to power because he felt like it every day. He rose because his work became non-negotiable. Walt Disney didn't build his vision because he was motivated every morning. He built it because he refused to stop when everything around him screamed failure. This world doesn't care how inspired you feel. It only bows to the one who doesn't quit. You want to be successful? Then train your mind to show up when you least want to. Train your body to move when your spirit is tired. Train your soul to walk through the storm when others run. Because discipline isn't about feeling strong. It's about becoming unbreakable. Discipline means you keep writing when the words don't come. Discipline means you keep training when your body aches. Discipline means you keep building when no one is watching. And the beautiful thing about discipline is this: it compounds. Every small act of discipline stacks like bricks. And one day you look back and realize you've built a fortress no storm can tear down. Motivation might make you run fast for a mile. Discipline will carry you across continents. You won't always feel like showing up. There will be days when the bed feels too warm, when your doubts are too loud, when your vision feels too far. Those are the days that define you. That's the battlefield where warriors are made and dreamers die. When everything in you whispers, tomorrow, discipline says now. Understand this deeply. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is power. It is the greatest gift you can give to your future self. It's a silent agreement between who you are and who you're becoming. Discipline tells your future, I won't abandon you. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a soldier. Look at the athletes who rise to the top. Do you think they train only on days they feel unstoppable? No. They train through exhaustion, through boredom, through pain, through doubt. And that's why their names echo long after the crowd leaves the stadium. Look at the creators, the inventors, the leaders who shaped history. They weren't chosen by luck. They were chosen by their own relentless discipline. Motivation is romantic. Discipline is real. Motivation gives you a rush. Discipline builds empires. Motivation whispers sweet words. Discipline gives you results. And those who understand this truth stop chasing feelings and start building their future. You may feel tired, but discipline will keep walking. You may feel afraid, but discipline will face it. You may feel small, but discipline will make you grow. That's why you must build it like muscle, train it like a warrior, guard it like a crown. When people tell you you're lucky, they won't see the early mornings. They won't see the long nights. They won't see the lonely hours. They won't see the 1,000 times you did the work with no applause, no motivation, no reward. But discipline doesn't care who sees. It only cares that you keep going. The greatest moments of your life will not come when you feel ready. They will come when you refuse to quit even when you're not. Discipline is not built in the noise of applause. It's built in silence, in rooms where no one is watching, in hours when no one believes in you. That's the difference between those who last and those who fade. Motivation will make you shout at the beginning of the race, but discipline will make you cross the finish line when your lungs burn, your legs tremble, and no one is left in the stands. Discipline is the quiet promise you make to yourself when the world is asleep and everything inside of you wants to quit. When the crowds vanish and the world forgets your name, discipline remembers. It's the invisible contract you sign with your future. It doesn't care how tired you are. It doesn't care if you're broken, if no one claps, or if it feels impossible. It demands you show up anyway, and that's why it's unstoppable. Because when everyone else relies on feelings, you rely on something unshakable. Feelings break. Discipline bends but never breaks. Every person who ever built something timeless learned how to be their own fire. They didn't wait for energy. They created it. They didn't wait for perfect timing. They built it from imperfect hours. Napoleon Hill once said, "Strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle." That is not poetry. That is a blueprint. The ones who endure the longest are not the loudest. They are the ones who master the art of showing up no matter what. Look at the legends whose names are carved into history. Edison failed 1,000 times, but discipline lit the final bulb. Ford faced bankruptcy more than once, but discipline built the assembly line. Lincoln lost elections, faced criticism, carried a nation through war, but discipline made him stand taller than the storms. They didn't wait for a feeling. They followed a standard. They lived by a code. And you can too. You don't need fireworks. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need permission. You need daily, unshakable, quiet, relentless discipline. Because in the end, the world doesn't reward those who start strong. It rewards those who refuse to stop. Discipline is what makes ordinary men and women extraordinary. It is the force that lifts you out of bed when no one else believes in your dream. It's the weight you carry when you're tired but not broken. It's the hand that steadies you when life tries to push you down. And if you build it strong enough, nothing, not failure, not fear, not doubt, can take it from you. The reason discipline is more powerful than motivation is simple. Motivation asks how you feel. Discipline tells you what to do. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is logical. Motivation is fragile. Discipline is iron. Motivation fades when life gets heavy. Discipline grows stronger the more weight it carries. And when that day comes, the day when everyone who started the race with you gives up, when the fire they relied on goes out, you will keep going. Not because you're stronger, not because you're luckier, but because you built a foundation no storm could destroy. You became the fire. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be consistent. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act ready. You don't need to be fearless. You need to walk through fear with discipline at your side. Motivation is a visitor. Discipline is a guardian. Motivation arrives when it wants. Discipline stays when you need it most. This is the truth. Most people will never reach their potential not because they don't have the talent, but because they quit when it hurts. They wait for motivation to return like a wave, but waves don't wait for anyone. They rise and they fall. But if you learn to keep walking even when the tide goes out, you will walk further than anyone who waited for it to carry them. Discipline is how the impossible becomes routine. It's how the person who didn't believe they could runs their first mile. It's how the shy voice becomes a leader. It's how the poor man builds an empire. Not through bursts of inspiration, but through daily, almost invisible acts that stack over time until they look like miracles. When your friends give up, when the world tells you to slow down, when your mind whispers, "Just rest a little longer," discipline will whisper back, "We move." And it is that whisper, not the loud roar of motivation, that will shape your destiny. You will not always feel like showing up. In fact, most of the time you won't. You'll be tired, bored, unsure, frustrated, and alone. But the people who build greatness aren't the ones who wait for the perfect feeling. They're the ones who act despite the feeling. They don't follow their mood, they lead it. That's why discipline creates momentum, and momentum builds greatness. Momentum isn't born from bursts of energy. It's born from daily decisions. It's the force that grows quietly, like roots beneath the surface, until one day the world sees the tree but forgets the years it spent growing underground. Discipline is those roots. The truth is, discipline will not feel glorious most days. It will feel repetitive. It will feel quiet. It will feel lonely. But that's where power is forged, in the stillness where others are too weak to stand. While others chase the high of a good day, you build the strength to face the hard days. And over time, that strength turns into something no one can take from you: control over yourself. Control over yourself is the most powerful thing you can own. It's worth more than money, more than applause, more than comfort. Because when you control yourself, nothing else controls you. The world can shake, but you stand. The waves can rise, but you walk. The fire can die, but you keep burning. Discipline is the master key that opens every locked door. It doesn't matter how slow you move if you never stop. It doesn't matter how far the peak is if every day you climb one step higher. It doesn't matter how many people doubt you if you keep building when they look away. Step by step, brick by brick, hour by hour, you create something no one else can. People will call you lucky. They'll say you're gifted. But they won't see the mornings you woke up before the sun. They won't see the nights you kept going when everyone slept. They won't see the battles you fought when no one cared. But you'll know. And that knowing will give you a strength no compliment can match. The day will come when everything falls apart for someone who relied only on motivation. But not for you. Because discipline doesn't disappear when things get hard. It sharpens. It becomes heavier, harder, stronger. It becomes your armor. When you build discipline, you stop depending on the world to push you. You push yourself. And the one who pushes themselves is the one who leads. Because discipline doesn't just create success, it creates leaders. That is why the road to success is not paved with motivation. It's carved with discipline. And when you look back years from now, you won't remember how inspired you felt. You'll remember how you kept going when everything in you wanted to stop. You'll remember the quiet mornings, the lonely nights, the small daily battles that no one else saw. That's where you became unstoppable. Discipline doesn't give you a crown. It makes you the kind of person who earns one. It makes you the person people can't ignore, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you never stopped walking. You became the one who didn't need a push. You became the storm. You became the fire. And in a world full of people waiting to feel ready, that will make you unstoppable. When the world tells you that only the gifted succeed, discipline quietly smiles. Because discipline knows the truth. It knows that most victories are not won by the loudest, nor by the smartest, nor by the most talented. They are won by the ones who stayed when everyone else left. They are won in quiet rooms, in early mornings, in nights when your heart is tired but your soul refuses to break. Discipline doesn't chase the spotlight. It builds something so solid that the spotlight has no choice but to find it. Think about every great story you've ever heard. Not the fairy tales, but the real ones, the ones carved into history. Look deeper into those stories and you'll find a pattern. They all started with excitement, with fire, with a dream. But the dream alone was never enough. The fire burned out for everyone. Some walked away when the thrill was gone. But a few, a small, relentless few, stayed. And those few are the ones we remember. Because when motivation disappeared, they didn't. Motivation is a visitor, discipline is a resident. Motivation walks in when the weather is good. Discipline lives through every storm. Motivation whispers in your ear when the sun is shining. But discipline stands beside you when the sky falls. That is why your success will never belong to how much you feel like doing something. It will belong to how much you do when you don't feel like it at all. The truth is brutal but simple. Success is not emotional. It doesn't respond to your feelings. It responds to your actions. The universe doesn't give crowns to those who dream loudly. It gives crowns to those who build quietly. It doesn't listen to your excitement. It watches your consistency. Look at a tree. When it grows, nobody sees the roots. Nobody sees the long, silent struggle beneath the surface. All they see is the day it stands tall, the day it blooms. But without the quiet war fought underground, there would be no tree at all. That's what discipline is. It's your root system, deep, invisible, strong. And when the storms come, and they will come, it will be your roots, not your feelings, that keep you standing. Motivation cannot survive storms. It's too soft, too fragile, too emotional. It gets scared when the sky darkens. But discipline is forged in those storms. It grows sharper in the wind. It grows harder in the rain. It becomes something no gust can knock down. Do you know why most people never live the life they imagine? Because they wait for the right feeling to do the right thing. They wait for the world to give them permission. But discipline doesn't wait. Discipline doesn't ask for permission. It moves. It acts. It builds. It becomes. When everyone else is sitting on the edge of their dreams waiting for the next motivational video, the next speech, the next flash of inspiration, discipline is already at work. Discipline doesn't need music. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't even need hope. It just needs the next step. Discipline is what makes the writer write when the page is blank. It makes the athlete run when the track is empty. It makes the builder swing the hammer when no one is cheering. It makes the student study when no one is watching. And that is why discipline will always win. When motivation dies, most people die with it. But discipline becomes your heartbeat. It keeps going even when everything else inside you wants to stop. And the longer you live in that rhythm, the more unstoppable you become. The enemy of greatness is not failure. The enemy of greatness is comfort. Motivation is addicted to comfort. Discipline is married to growth. Motivation wants to feel good. Discipline wants to become strong. Motivation celebrates the start. Discipline conquers the end. Look at the story of Henry Ford. His vision was mocked, his ideas rejected, his factories doubted. But he didn't need the world to cheer for him. His discipline was louder than their doubt. Thomas Edison didn't invent light in a rush of inspiration. He failed 1,000 times. 1,000 quiet days of work without applause. But the light still came. Walt Disney was fired, rejected, laughed at, told he lacked imagination. But discipline isn't built for comfort. It's built for revolution. And revolution doesn't ask for permission. You have that same power. It's not reserved for special people. It's not a gift of the few. It's forged in the fire of daily choices. It's earned in the hours when no one sees, no one believes, no one cares. Discipline is the great equalizer. It doesn't care about your past. It doesn't care where you were born, what you look like, or who told you no. It only cares about how long you're willing to stand. And make no mistake, discipline is not a feeling of strength. Discipline is often uncomfortable. Just waking up when your body begs to sleep. Just doing one more rep when your muscles shake. Just staying focused when your mind screams for distraction. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not meant to be, because it doesn't exist to impress people. It exists to build you. Motivation makes you feel alive. Discipline makes you unbreakable. And an unbreakable person doesn't chase moments, they build empires. There will be nights when your soul feels tired, when you question if any of it is worth it. You'll stand in front of a mirror and see a face that looks worn out from the battle. But listen to me carefully. Those are the nights that shape you. Those are the nights that turn ordinary men and women into legends. Because discipline doesn't care how hard it gets. It stays. It fights. It builds when others sleep. It stands when others kneel. Most people live their entire lives waiting for a wave to carry them. But the greatest build ships. They don't need the sea to be calm. They sail in storms. They bend the wind to their will. That's what discipline does. It makes you the captain of your life. You can live like everyone else, waiting, hoping, feeling. Or you can build a life that moves regardless of the weather. You can build discipline so strong that your dreams no longer depend on how the world treats you. They depend only on how hard you're willing to work. And here is the secret that separates the few from the many. Once you taste the power of discipline, you'll stop chasing motivation forever. You'll stop waiting for the perfect moment. You'll stop looking for someone to push you. You'll realize that everything you need was inside you all along, waiting for you to step up and become your own storm. Motivation whispers, someday. Discipline answers, today. Motivation gives you a spark. Discipline builds a fire that never goes out. And when the world sees what you've built, not in a day, not in a week, but in years of relentless consistency, they will call it talent, luck, destiny. But you will know the truth. It wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It wasn't a perfect plan. It was discipline, your greatest weapon, your quiet strength, your unshakable foundation. Because at the end of the road, motivation will have long disappeared. But discipline will be right beside you, carrying you across the finish line, long after everyone else stopped. When the world goes silent and the noise fades, discipline remains. When your friends stop believing, when the crowd walks away, when even your own mind starts to whisper, maybe this isn't worth it, discipline answers with action. It doesn't argue. It doesn't negotiate. It moves forward. That is why discipline will take you further than motivation ever will. Motivation is a good friend on sunny days, but discipline is the soldier who marches with you through storms, cold nights, and endless miles when your strength runs thin. There will come a point in your journey where everything you built will be tested. Your vision will feel distant. Your energy will run low. And the same people who clapped for you at the start will turn silent. That's the real battlefield. Not the first step, not the easy wins, but the endless, quiet, heavy middle where most give up. Motivation can't survive there. It's too soft. It needs comfort to breathe. But discipline thrives there. Discipline is forged in that place. To find strength where everything else collapses. Look at any great life story and you'll see it. Abraham Lincoln stood tall not because life was kind to him, but because he refused to bow to it. Henry Ford built his empire not because people cheered him on, but because their doubt became the sound beneath his footsteps. Walt Disney created a world of imagination not because he was never rejected, but because rejection couldn't break his will. Greatness is never built on feelings. It's built on disciplined action repeated long after the feeling is gone. Discipline is a kind of faith in the unseen, in the future, in the seed you've planted but cannot yet harvest. It's waking up to water a dream even when there's no sign it will grow. It's lifting the weight even when no one's watching. It's learning in silence while others laugh at your ambition. It's building in the dark, trusting that one day the world will see what you saw long before it existed. Motivation is like the sun. It rises and it sets. Discipline is like the stars. It stays even when it's dark. It guides you when nothing else does. And if you learn to trust that light, if you build your life on it, no storm can drown you. No failure can bury you. No doubt can chain you. You may not feel ready. You may not feel strong. You may not even believe fully in yourself yet. But discipline doesn't ask for belief to act. It acts until belief is built. That's the secret the world hides behind slogans and easy promises. Real success has less to do with how you feel and everything to do with what you do when you feel nothing at all. Discipline is the bridge between the person you are and the person you're meant to be. It is the only thing standing between I could have and I did. It's the difference between those who talk about what they want and those who live it. Every time you act without waiting for the feeling, you build another brick in that bridge. And one day, without even noticing, you'll stand on the other side, stronger, louder, freer. There's a quiet power in a person who doesn't need to be told twice. A person who doesn't need the world to cheer to keep walking. That kind of person is dangerous, because nothing can stop someone who doesn't depend on feeling good to keep going. That's what you must become. Not someone who waits, but someone who moves. Not someone who follows waves, but someone who builds the tide. When the alarm rings and everything inside you says, stay in bed, discipline gets up. When doubt whispers, you can't, discipline answers, watch me. When fear screams, run, discipline walks forward anyway. Because discipline isn't about feeling brave, it's about being consistent. And consistency beats everything. It beats fear. It beats doubt. It beats talent. It beats time. Understand this. The world doesn't need more people who feel inspired for a week. It needs people who show up for years. People whose actions don't rise and fall with the weather. People who don't let temporary moods define permanent outcomes. That's what separates the great from the forgotten. The man who gets up every day and trains when nobody's watching will always surpass the man who trains only when the spotlight is on. The woman who studies, builds, practices, and grows in silence will always rise higher than the one who posts her goals but never lives them. Discipline turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. It compounds. It multiplies. It outlasts everything. Success doesn't come to those who feel like working. It comes to those who work. It doesn't come to those who wait for the perfect day. It comes to those who make every day count. It doesn't come to those who hope. It comes to those who act, and keep acting. And that's what discipline is: unshakable, relentless action. Years from now, people will look at you and say you were lucky. They'll say you were gifted. They'll say it must have been easy. But you'll know the truth. You'll know about the mornings you showed up tired, the nights you worked in silence, the pain no one saw, the doubt you fought alone, the storms you walked through without a single witness. That's what they'll call luck. But you'll know it was discipline. Motivation gives birth to a dream. Discipline raises it. Discipline is the parent of your destiny. Without it, your dream stays an orphan. And an orphan dream dies quietly. So decide. Decide that from this moment forward, your life won't be led by feelings. It will be led by discipline. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the fastest. You just have to be the one who never leaves the battlefield. Because the one who never leaves always wins in the end. And when you stand on the other side of everything you feared, everything you fought, everything you worked for, you'll understand why discipline is worth it. Why the early mornings mattered. Why the lonely nights counted. Why showing up even when you didn't feel like it became the turning point of your life. The finish line is not for the inspired. It's for the relentless. It's not for the loud. It's for the quiet. It's not for the talented. It's for the disciplined. And that is why discipline will take you further than motivation ever will.